I'm a bit of what you could call a 6-arc enjoyer. It's a relatively flat shooting cartridge, high ballistic coefficient, can fit in an AR-15 size platform, and it's just over $1 a round for match ammo. So for maximizing distance out of a lightweight rifle, pretty good. But the platform for behavioral modification at a distance and the subject of this video is the next level armory Pheonix 6-arc premium rifle. Now this is one of the last products that I accepted from a manufacturer. I no longer accept products direct from manufacturers, so I gotta work through some of the holdovers. This is one of the last couple that I have in the works. So keep in mind that this $3,000 carbon fiber ambi billet word salad was sent to me for free. I didn't pay for it. Now starting out up front, we have a 2-port muzzle brake. Originally it shipped with their speed brake that has the ports aligned vertically for some reason, so when shooting from the prone, it kicked up a lot of dust and debris into the shooter. After I mentioned that, they sent out their new 2-port brake, which works better in my opinion and is now featured on the website. Now the centerpiece of the rifle to me is the carbon fiber barrel, which coincidentally was inspired by my favorite Need for Speed game. The Helix 6-arc barrel comes in 16, 18, and 20-inch lengths, with the standard option being the 18-inch featured here. These barrels can be bought a la carte for a cool $1,150, making it the most expensive barrel I have tested to date. Unfortunately, it doesn't do much to dissuade my distaste of wrapped carbon on a barrel. Before we get to that, let's talk about the specs. On the 18-inch version that I have here, it comes with a extended length or magnum length gas system. It's basically a rifle plus 1 inch, so on an 18-inch barrel, it looks close to a dissipator style upper. 6-arc can be very finicky with magazines, suppressors, and ammo, so tuning the gas correctly is very important to get a reliable system. So in NLA's case, they pushed out the gas port as far as possible to smooth out the cycling. Now this aspect of the barrel is perfect. It's well gassed and was perfectly reliable with all ammo and magazines I tried, so all good there. Now getting to the carbon fiber aspect of the barrel, the idea is you cut away most of the actual metal, leaving a pencil profile under the wrap, and then fill it and wrap it with carbon fiber, which is extremely rigid. In theory, you can cut weight, retain rigidity, increase thermal dissipation, and they claim increased accuracy as well, but we'll get to that. Now it is light, there is no doubting that, and I think it comes in at about 24 ounces, where my 18-inch SPR profile barrels come in near 40 ounces, so there is a good amount of weight cut out. The rest of the barrel specs are fine. It's a stainless steel core, button cut rifling, hand lapped bore, and of course finished at the end in 5/8 by 24. Now the handguard is a very long 16.5-inch rail, M-lock at the 3, 6, and 9, lightning cuts along the top. At the back we have anti-rotation tabs that fit very tightly onto their billet upper, but the lockup is subpar in my opinion. Now if you really want to help me out for some reason, first off go ahead and get a mental health check, and secondly check out my subscribe star. It's an extremely basic setup with just 2 cross bolts that clamp the rail onto the barrel nut. They just screw into aluminum on the other side, so you do want to be careful about how much torque you use if you're taking the rail on and off for some reason. Now, if you aren't planning on running enablers, lasers, or anything that requires 0 on the rail, it's not that big of a deal, but again, for a $3,000 rifle, I would like something more robust. Now, one thing that is wasted on the rail is actually the length itself. They give you the extra inch or 2, which is very important if you want to get that bipod out as far as possible, but you actually can't use that last slot of M-lock at the bottom because the gas system is so long that the gas block sits right above that last M-lock slot, making it useless, so you actually still have to mount your bipod a little bit further back. Now let's move on to their 6-arc BCG. One funny aside is that the bolt is marked 6.5 Grendel, which is fine, it's the same bolt, but it is funny that it's marked that on the 6-ARC rifle. The entire BCG is coated in their DLC, which is great. It's a good coating, super tough, easy to clean, and it's held up great so far. At the back of the carrier, you will notice a flare. A tasteful flare on the back isn't such a bad thing. In this case, though, that helps the carrier not to tilt during the cycling of the rifle, which again, 6-ARC can be very finicky during feeding, so keeping everything lined up perfectly and consistently doesn't hurt. Now on the website, they say the bolt is machined from 4140, which is odd. I think that might be the first time I have seen that. They claim that with their coating, it's a good mix of surface strength and resistance to structural failures. Now, the reason why that's going to be very important is that if you don't know, 7.62 x 39, 6.5 Grendel, 6-ARC, and other cartridges have much thicker casings than 5.56, so to fit them in an AR-sized bolt, you have to remove more than half of the material from the face of the bolt to get the casings in there, leading to cracked bolts and broken extractors. So with that being said, the material choice seems notable to me, though I can't say anything bad about it at this point. The carrier is also 4140, the gas key screws are grade 8 and set to mil spec, the extractors are machined with the insert O-ring and spring for good extraction force. Other than the odd material choice, it's all as it should be and has held up just fine so far, though again, I'm not sure if it's worth $300. Now moving on to the receiver set, we have a matched 70-75 billet upper and lower. I've actually done a video on this receiver set already, so I'm not going to go into hyper autistic detail here, but I will hit the mains. Fully ambi titanium drummed safety, the switch on the right is shorter as it should be, ambi bolt catch and release, ambi magazine release as well. Now the magazine release is very exposed on the left hand side, so I have accidentally actuated that on gear, but since my original video they've actually made that optional, so you can ask for it to be omitted if you don't want it. The magazine well is cut, flared, and beveled. You may not like the aggressive look, but it certainly does act like a funnel in practice. The takedown pins are extended and nicely machined. Now moving to the trigger, this is, I believe, a TriggerTech cassette style trigger made for Next Level Armory, or it's an in-house trigger. Either way, it's pretty great. It's a single stage trigger, no take up at all, like none, and a 3.5 pound brake. Short tactile reset and you're right back on that wall. For distance speeding, speed shooting, I have very little to complain about. Now, on one of their other rifles, you can upgrade to the TriggerTech trigger for about $100 extra, so I'm not sure if that's the exact same trigger that's in this model. So the trigger is what you would expect for a rifle of this price tag. Moving back, you have a QD end plate and extended castle nut. Everything looks the part. The mil-spec buffer tube comes with a carbine spring and an H2 buffer, which the system is tuned for, and the furniture is B5 grip and stock. I know it's not mag pull hop, but I like it well enough. The charging handle is their scythe, which is ambi with these huge wings. For a comp style rifle, I like the big wings. For everything else, they might be a little oversized. So now, with all the what out of the way, let's talk about the how. How did this thing perform? Well, with reliability, after a few hundred rounds of varying types of 6-ARC, it has been 100% reliable. I've used the 10-round Duramag that it ships with and the 17-round Elander. Both of those have performed just fine. Keep in mind, 6-ARC is again very magazine sensitive. Your ammo, your suppressor system is going to throw a bit of a monkey wrench in there, and you're going to need to figure out what works best for you. Shootability is mostly good. 6-ARC is one of the hotter AR-15 size cartridge, but it's still half of what 308 would be. You add the breakout front, and it's pretty easy to spot your misses, which is super important at distance, so you can send those follow-up shots quickly, which fortunately you can. The one thing that holds it back from shooting a little better at distance or mid-range quickly is the weight, which is also a reason why a lot of people might like it. The full rifle, billet receivers, 18-inch barrel, long handguard, and all the extras comes in at around 6 pounds 5 ounces on my scale, which is pretty light for an 18-inch rifle. But it's not super light. We could actually make this under 6 pounds with a slightly shorter handguard, a mil-spec receiver set, remove some of the ambi controls, and boom, you have a sub 6 pound 18-inch rifle. So you're probably already putting together some POU issues in your head, but before we get there, let's talk about accuracy. Keep in mind that this barrel costs more than $1,100 on its own. Now, I have tested the accuracy twice, and the only MOA or sub-MOA group I got was actually while zeroing it with the 105 grain Hornady Black. Every other group that I've been able to print with it has been between 1.75 and 2.5 inches at 100 yards. which when you're hunting inside of 400 yards probably isn't the biggest of deals, but you contrast that with the price and you start to ask yourself, where did the money go? You're spending $1,000 or more for mediocre accuracy and saving about 8 to 12 ounces over a standard profile barrel. So the trigger is good, the receiver set is good, but I simply wouldn't spend $3,000 on it. Now when we get back to philosophy of use, it's not a truly lightweight rifle. It's a mix of a very lightweight barrel, but a heavy receiver set and extras, so it's not a particularly good blend of being somewhat lightweight, yet very precise. You're sacrificing your precision, but you're not going fully down the rabbit hole of a lightweight build. So it's somewhere in this gray zone, but the only thing that's black and white about it is, again, the cost. Their basic tier NLX 5.56 and 6 arc rifles are right around $1,200 with a standard mil-spec upper and lower, but they still have the ambi safety, charging handle, and the same B5 furniture. The main difference, other than receivers on the 6 arc variants, is going to be the use of a 16-inch rifle length barrel from CMMG, but again, you're dropping the price from over $3,000 to about $1,200. And remember, you can add that trigger tech in there for an extra $100, and so for around $1,300 total cost, you probably have a more accurate, better shooting, similar weight, probably within a half pound or so, but again, nearly $2,000 cheaper than the full Pheonix rifle. Now, even with the what I consider subpar accuracy, especially when contrasted with the price, I was able to make back-to-back impacts at 800 yards on a 11.5-inch wide target. However, keep in mind, 2 MOA, or roughly 2 MOA at 800 yards is about 16 inches, so there are some times where I was missing left or right, and I was doing the exact same thing, basically no wind on that day.
Interesting, the wind's off now. Let's try it dead hold. Okay.
It's a little frustrating when I am out shooting the rifle inside of 1,000 yards, especially if it's a $3,000 rifle, it starts to become a problem. So again, the Helix carbon fiber barrel doesn't do anything to divert my disgust of the material and doesn't justify the price. I feel like they need another option for the Pheonix rifle that has a premium but not $1,100 barrel, and I think you could get a better buy and probably a better option for most people. You're going to sacrifice a little bit more weight, but you're going to get that high-end, great receiver set and the precision to match the price tag. And again, the price tag would inevitably drop by just simply not putting in a $1,200 carbon fiber barrel. As it stands right now, it's not a super light hunting gun. It's not accurate enough for PRS or DMR matches. It's more of a flex piece. The receivers, charging handle, carbon wrapped barrels look sick to a certain segment of the population, and that's probably what matters most to those gentlemen. Now, if we were on TFB or some other shilltuber, this probably would have been a positive review, but we aren't on shilltube, are we? For me and most of my autistic adjacent audience, value and performance is going to be the name of the game. But that's about all that I have on the Next Level Armory Pheonix 6 arc rifle and their Helix carbon fiber barrel. Go ahead and let me know what you think of all of this stuff down in the comments section below. And with all that out of the way, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. I will see you in the next one. God bless.